This is the Lord's Prayer Part 2. I presented it this way on purpose to show how the Gospels are not contradictory just because they're not exactly the same. This is a typical argument of Bible haters who sometimes claim that the Gospels have been corrupted, although they always do so without offering any real evidence. Now, the thing you have to understand is that the Gospels were written by different guys at different times. They all knew the same story, but they were telling it their own way to a specific audience. Even though the Bible books were written by different individuals, it is the context given by God in influencing those writers that binds them together. So you see here we have two different versions of the Lord's Prayer. The first one I read was in the book of Luke. This one is the book of Matthew, specifically chapter 6. Jesus is talking to his disciples, and the subject is praying. He starts out telling them, don't pray like the hypocrites, to be seen as being some big religious figure trying to show out for other people. He also says, don't pray phony prayers with a bunch of meaningless repetition like the Gentiles do, meaning those that are practicing false religion. You notice the Catholics have picked this up, and a large part of their liturgy is just repetition. This version is the one that most people have probably heard most often. It goes like this: Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we have forgiven our debtors. Bring us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Now I'll go over that again in plain language. Our Father, who is in heaven, holy be thy name. Holy in this case means to set apart and to keep sacred. Thy kingdom come, meaning that we are looking forward to the day that there is no more evil. Give us day by day, or give us this day, our daily bread. Now, this doesn't just mean food and shelter and other worldly needs. Daily bread is a metaphor for a spiritual word. In other words, reading the Bible. Forgive us our debts. Our debts are sins to God. Therefore, if God is going to forgive us our sins, we have to forgive those who are indebted to us. In other words, people who have sinned against us. Like I said before, you cannot be forgiven unless you forgive. Finally, do not bring us into temptation. One of the things that we do is that we open doors to Satan and his demons by sinning or contemplating sins. And we can be tested with temptation to sin or with a trial that we have to overcome that may involve sickness or personal tragedy, because sometimes we give Satan a legal right to persecute us because of our sin. We temporarily lose God's protection by agreeing with the devil. That was what Adam and Eve did. They believed the devil instead of believing what God had already told them, and therefore they brought a curse on all mankind. Of course, the humanists don't believe that man is inherently evil, but if you look back at history, you would have to admit that it's pretty much true. Finally, when most people pray this prayer, they say, deliver us from evil. But the full Greek says, deliver us from the evil one, meaning the devil. The word deliver actually means rescue. So the very end of this prayer, every time you say it, is asking God to deliver you from the God of this world, small g, asking God to deliver you from the devil. In another study, I'll talk about some of the many legal things that God asks you to add to your prayers.